Enrique Duran Diaz. How are you doing?
Hey, Omar, man. How you doing? So nice to see you, man.
Everybody who's listening and watching, Enrique was my head coach this season, and we work very closely. So in the off season, we probably don't want to see each other, but I appreciate you coming.
No, I'm still having fun, just having an opportunity to see you today. But it has been good, like the last 3 weeks that I didn't see you as much as I was used to see you.
See, I thought these things, but now that you've confirmed it, I'm going to be insecure all day. But how are you doing? How's your off season?
No, so far everything's going well. Like always trying just to change a few things from last year. Just trying to develop the game model. Just trying to adjust things that we identified during the season. And as much as the trainings are off, I think as coaches we are always just trying to evolve and trying to continue developing. No?
Yeah, and you've been with LAFC for almost 5 years now, and then you had the opportunity with Las Vegas Lights to become the head coach. How was that off-season last year? I know there was a little bit of uncertainty because Steve got the job with the first team, and it was just like you moving forward. So what was that like?
Yeah, I think that the last 2 years for me, I will say that I was just having like kind of a challenge, okay? Because after being with the youth and developing the academy players and developing young talented for many, many years, having the chance just to join Steve for the first season of LAFC, having that partnership with the Lights was a great experience. Like you say, we're not knowing what was going to be happening with the first team at the beginning of the season, having doubts if Steve was going to be the head coach or not. It was giving me like that uncertainty, that about what I was going to be doing. But as soon as the club just decided I was going to be the head coach of the second team, well, you were involved in the process too. We just tried to do our best from the beginning, trying to build a roster, trying to create training sessions that were going to be helping the group to continue with their development, and at the end just trying to get results for the team and for ourselves.
Yeah, I think it's just funny that I see you as the head coach this season, and right from the start, whether the first team conversation, the first team meeting, I could see that you were letting the guys know that there's groundwork. We don't want to lose the games that we lost last year, but at the same time too, it's a new voice and you kind of have to earn their trust. When I saw you as a head coach, I couldn't believe that you were an assistant coach, because I feel like there are just certain profiles of people that like they are head coaches and that's it. And seeing you this season, like, have you always kind of been a leader, or did you kind of find that along your process of coaching?
I think that this is something that also you just need to learn. Okay, the experience is providing to you the opportunity also to behave in different ways, depending what is the role that you have in the team. Last season, when I was just assisting Steve, I knew that I needed to do certain things to provide Steve the resources and the help that he needed. And at the same time, as assistant coach, you have like an easiest role, no? Because at the end, all the blame is going to be going towards the head coach, and you have less responsibility, okay? And that's something that it's making the job of the assistant coach sometimes a bit easier. But at the same time, when I had the chance this year just to be the head coach of the team, I started to feel like, okay, that's probably the role that I like the most. Okay, I think that just having the opportunity to take decisions, to be responsible of the group, like you mentioned, from the first day, just trying to set standards. That's something that I noticed that in the second season, when I had the chance to do it, was really my comfort zone. Okay, and that's something that it's hard for coaches sometimes to figure it out. What is going to be the best role for me, or what is going to be the position that is going to suit the best for my skills, no? And it's a process, and sometimes you just need to experience the other ones just to have an opportunity to really feel what is going to be the best job for you. There is nothing wrong to be an assistant coach, nothing wrong to be the head coach. It's more than anything else, just trying to work in that spot or work in that role that is going to be helping you just to feel comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, you work with Steve, obviously, LAFC with the championship this season, so that was an amazing run. But any advice, I guess, to any assistant coaches out there at any level? Like you said, they are the ones who kind of take the faults and the blame if they lose. But as an assistant, what are you watching for? Is it just kind of like how they address the group, how they manage wins and losses, how they manage the group? Like, what were you learning from Steve, but also to any advice for, I guess, assistant coaches out there?
Yeah, during my career, look, I had the opportunity of learning from many, many coaches. Okay, and my first advice always regarding coaching is that you just need to be ready always to learn. As much as we would like to think that we know everything, it's really hard for us to know everything about what is going to be happening in the game. No, there is always an opportunity of learning. okay, when you work with other coaches. And then you can decide if you want to take these tips or these lessons or the way that the guy is or the coach is going to be just leading the group, no? But for example, my personal experience is that since I started coaching when I was 14, 15 years old, I have been always learning, okay? And that's at the end what is helping me just to develop as a coach, and also just to have my own ideas, no? Because sometimes you think that you just need to copy and paste what is working for a coach, but doesn't mean that it's going to be fitting your style, or doesn't mean that is the idea of soccer that you have in mind. For that reason, for me, it's very important just to learn and then try to process all this information, all these situations that you are learning from a coach, to take what you think that is going to be positive for you and what do you think that is not going to be really bad in any value to your soccer IQ.
Yeah, I think that's the big one that I personally as a coach struggle with sometimes, is the identity of, okay, I see you as a leader. I see even Steven, who's one of our assistant coaches, he addresses the group in a certain way. And sometimes you look at yourself internally and you say, damn, like I want to be a leader like that, or I want to be able to speak my points and then have every word that I say provide substance.
Yeah, but I saw you this season, Omar, and I think that you have that skill too. The only problem is that you are used to do it in a really small group.
True.
Okay, and probably when you are just in these 1v1 situations with the goalies is when you are just expressing yourself as a leader. The challenge for you is that normally you are just working with a really small group,
yeah,
and you don't have probably the opportunity to communicate with a big audience that is probably gonna be allowing you just to feel more comfortable, no?
That's true.
And again, if I need to be honest, I'm not the same kind of leader now that I was when I was 27, 28 years old. And that's a process too. You just need to continue developing your own personality, your own way of communicating with the players. And at the end, you will see that you are going to be finding ways. I think that you have that skill on you. The only thing is just trying to develop that skill to have an opportunity to communicate with the team instead of doing it only with one or two players. That is what normally is happening with you.
That's true. Yeah, I think Dan Ball, who was on with us a few days ago, he was talking about like the ratio of like 4-1 or sometimes 3-1. You have those kind of investments in those players, and those players trust you in a different way than maybe the entire group would. And I told a funny story about how the first video session that you accidentally put Steven's set pieces first. And I was just like, I remember looking
Promise
at it.
to you, it was not in purpose, man. Promise to you.
I think just the conversations that we were having, it looked like you were picking on me, but it's okay. No, I felt it too. I was like, I think these clips aren't mine, but let's roll with it. But yeah, like you said, coaching, it's like...
Honestly, as a coach, I was feeling so proud because I was just asking you just to present the set pieces and you did it.
Yeah.
Okay, you did it wrong, but you did it.
I passed the test. But yeah, I think so. You're talking about you're a different coach now than you were at 27, 28, and you started with Barcelona, right? So what was the early days like? I think Cruyff was still around at the time?
I think Cruyff was not involved directly.
Okay.
He was probably just providing some kind of advice. But what is interesting about the way that I started coaching is I started like more than anything else just to make some money, okay? I was never expecting just to develop as a coach or just to take coaching as my only job, no? When I started, it was more than anything else just to make some money, training some little kids there, futsal. And then I saw that I was really having fun, okay? And something that at the beginning was only just a money maker, it became my passion, okay? And that was something that when my passion was growing and growing and growing towards the game, it really helped me just to identify that I wanted to develop as a coach, no? For many, many years, I was working for some local clubs. I grew up just very close to the Barcelona stadium, like 2 blocks away from the stadium. And I was never expecting just to coach for them, okay? And when I was 22, 23 years old, I got the opportunity to join FC Barcelona. And I think that was like that point that changed a bit my career, because before I was just coaching the way that I wanted to coach. And when I get inside the Barcelona system, they started to teach me how to coach, what was going to be the best ideas. And I think that was probably the school that really is just marking a bit my soccer career, okay? Because as much as I always trying to change and to adapt and to figure out things just to adapt my style to the needs of the team, that style is always on me, because it's something that they were teaching me. They had the patience just to repeat things, to spend their time also just to teach me how to develop players the way that they wanted me to develop. And that's something that as much as I think that not all the coaches are having an opportunity, for me was the game changer.
Yeah.
Because it gave me a really good chance just to develop as a coach.
How early in the process did you realize, like, man, I really don't know, not know what I'm doing, but like I'm seeing these other coaches who are a little bit more seasoned and they obviously know the system, so they can teach you how to address the team in the Barca way?
Omar, it's hard for me to say, but from day one, okay, as soon as I step on the field and I was just setting the cones, everything was wrong, okay, and it was a process. The only thing that sometimes these are moments that you just need to be quiet, just work, listen to all the people that is just telling you how to do things, probably just not thinking about your own ego as a coach, and just thinking that the process is going to take longer than you expected.
Yeah.
Because the first day I stepped there thinking that I was the king of the field. And the second day, I was not even the assistant coach of the assistant coach, you know? And that was something that you just need to learn, and you just need to continue working. You have two options. You can complain, that is not going to be helping you, or you can just accept that you are far behind, and you just need to catch up. And that's what I decided to do, just to catch up and just trying to work to develop. Yeah,
that's the number one question that everyone always asks is, like, obviously your identity as a coach, where were you at the younger stages, and kind of how you have evolved. And I feel like there have been experiences that in the moment I didn't even consider to be beneficial, because I was like, wow, I just got destroyed by Enrique, or Steve just yelled at me. So I'm like sitting there going, man, I don't know how to process this. And then as you progress, you start realizing, no, these people actually know what they're talking about because somebody corrected them in the past, and then they're passing that lesson down to me. And I think that's one of the things you do very well as a coach, not just with the players, but I think your assistant coaches, because this season, I mean, Steven and I, he's the performance guy, I'm the goalkeeper guy, and we kind of assumed that was going to be our role this season. And then obviously when the transition happened, when Steve got the first team job and you came in, they kind of said, hey, we're going to put more on both of your plates to be assistant coaches. And that also for you is a little bit of, not legwork, but again, all the lessons of the people that have poured into you. Now you're kind of like, okay, now I need to teach these guys kind of what my process is.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point, Omar, because I think that during the season we had like months that I was just very hard on both of you, probably just trying to get what I needed from both of you. And one thing that I noticed and I identified during the years is that if you want people to work the way that you want them to work, you just need to spend time. And look, I can expect you to do a good job, but I cannot expect you to do the job that I want you to do if I'm not spending my time. And I think that was the process, okay? I still remember the first day, guys, that you came with 120 videos about an opponent that we were going to be playing in a few weeks. And I say, no, that's unacceptable, man. I cannot be watching 120 videos. But then was helping you guys just to start developing and to identify moments and to identify actions. And it was always like feedback, because I think that if you don't know that you are not doing a good job, how are you going to be improving?
Yeah.
And I think that having that opportunity of growing in an environment when I was challenged, it was really helping me. And the only thing that I want is that the people that is going to be around me is going to be challenged the way that I was challenged, to provide to the group what I think that they can provide. Because what I don't want, if I have as an assistant coach that can give me always a 10, why I'm going to be allowing the assistant coach to give me an 8? Yeah. Okay, a 10 is the minimum that he should be providing to me and the team. And at the end, everybody's going to be satisfied, because you are going to be ending the season thinking that you are the king that I was not when I was joining Barcelona.
Yeah.
But it's important for development. Everybody needs to suffer a bit. Everybody needs to be read at least once. Okay, because it's the only way of learning.
Yeah, I remember a funny story. We were you had us early in the season kind of put the scouting plan, and we played against, I think it was Sacramento, and we sat down in the team room, and you said, okay, Omar, present the video, and I said, okay, sometimes they're in a 4-4-2, sometimes they're in 4-5-1 or whatever I said, and you said, okay, well, of all the videos, like, you have not shown me one that shows 4-4-2. And I was like, oh, man, I know it's in there somewhere. And I just remember going like, I cannot believe, whether I was nervous or I was just unprepared. I don't know what it was, but it was.
It was like at the end, just trying to provide me too much information, like trying to look good. And sometimes less is more.
Yeah.
Okay. And at the beginning, I remember that you were always panicking, like, hey, Enrique, the video is looking good. Say, Omar, it's going to be looking good. The clips are going to be good. But at the end, you just need to analyze the information. And sometimes if you can see a 4-3-3, 4-3-3 is over there. It's not going to be the end of the world if they are 4-4-2. But you wanted to be like that precise in all the information that you were providing to me, that sometimes was very easy for me just to catch you, making some mistakes. And more than anything else is that after these 3 or 4 videos, the improvement was huge. It's something that I didn't expect, but it was happening. It was really good.
So you go from I know you were at Barcelona, right? Mm-hmm. And then you went to Egypt for a little bit. Is that?
Yeah, I was in Egypt like for a few months because let me elaborate a bit in this story. When I was working for Barca at the beginning, I was just working as a part-timer. Okay, and then Barca offered me the opportunity of starting working full time, but to work full time, I needed to go to build an academy in Saudi Arabia. That Barca was just trying to build an academy in Saudi Arabia, and I decided to accept that offer. Because everything was delayed a bit there in Saudi Arabia, they decided to send me to Egypt because they had already an academy in Egypt just for me, just to see how things were going there. And then is when I joined the academy in Saudi Arabia. No? But that was like the first time in my soccer career that I started to work full-time for a soccer club.
Yeah. I mean, what I love about your story, and again, knowing you, but also now kind of researching a little bit of your past and your history of coaching and your resume, it's so interesting that I think to get to the level that you are, there's so much sacrifice that goes into it because of all the places that you just said willingly just I'll go. And we'll get to the part of being in South Africa for 4 years and then obviously with Barcelona, but the past going to Saudi Arabia, like what went into that decision? Were you just saying, hey, I'm a young coach, I got to take any opportunity I get? Was it money? Was it a new country? What was the...
It's a bit of everything, no? But like I mentioned, no, I think that when I started to understand that my passion was going to be soccer, I just needed to do whatever it was on my hands just to be a coach. And I remember that at that stage of my life, I needed to have like 2 jobs. Okay, I was working in the morning in an office. I hated it. Okay, I was going every day with to the office with my suit and just spending like 8 hours in the office, asking my boss just to leave a bit early, just to have a chance just to go to the soccer field on time. And honestly, I was just enjoying the 3 or 4 hours that I was on the field coaching for Barca. When Barca told me about that opportunity in Saudi Arabia, I think money was important, but the most important thing for me is just to having a chance just to be fully committed to soccer. And that was the first time that I saw that, look, if I'm making that move, I don't know if it's going to be working or not, but I will have an opportunity to be just thinking 24/7 in soccer and also making enough money just to have an opportunity to live doing what I really like to do. Because as much as it's hard sometimes to work in soccer, for me, I don't have any problem to wake up early in the morning. I don't have any problem to stay until late. I enjoy the game. I enjoy the job that I'm doing. And that opportunity that Barca gave me just to start building that academy in Saudi Arabia was going to be giving me the chance just to work full-time in soccer. Then I talked with my family, I talked with my friends, and they were telling me, no, you are crazy, you're supposed to stay here, you're still 24 years old. I say, yeah, but look, I don't like what I have at this point. I want to take this opportunity. Yeah. And that's the way that it was working and the way that I was thinking at that stage of my life.
What were some of the lessons you took away? I mean, you were there for how long? 2 years?
Almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years. And what were some of the early lessons or lessons that you still carry to this day?
But look, this is that process. It was funny just because with 24, 25 years old, I cannot remember exactly if I was 24 or 25. I started to work coaches that were 10, 15, 20 years older than me. I started to see other ways to understand soccer. I started to see other kind of players. And the most important thing for me is that I was just coming from Barcelona where everything is perfect. Build up from the back, technical players that they have a high IQ. And then you are going to an environment where you have players that are the opposite. Okay. And that was starting to help me just to think, hey, maybe what I have there is like a movie. It's perfect. But when you are just developing as coach, you just need to think that outside that environment where you are used to work, there is a different game. And you just need to adapt. And you just need to have an opportunity to continue developing. And then, like I was mentioning, working with coaches that were older than you were always challenged because they were always trying to criticize what the young guy was trying to do. And that was also helping me because sometimes you can just argue with them. Sometimes you can just be mad with them. But at the end, they are not going to follow you if what you are saying is not right. And that was just pushing me just to keep thinking and to keep developing and to keep looking for answers that sometimes I didn't have, but I was acting like I had all of them.
It's like a fake it till you make it as a coach. Because like you're saying, you're presented with an opportunity to kind of be around more experienced people. And again, the way you look at it is everybody has an experience where a coach or a mentor has worked with them. And then from that perspective, they kind of turn into that role as years go by. They become wiser, and then they have a younger person who's underneath them, and they almost try to assume that mentorship role, for better or for worse, to try and help you. But then for you, you're processing that kind of like, I guess, that advice and that information of, do they hate me, or are they trying to help me grow, or like what do they have wrong, what do I have right? There's just like this constant balance. And
I think that they hate me at that stage. But honestly, Omar, how many times did you fail?
So many.
And it's the only way of learning. And look, every time that you are failing, you are learning. And every time that you are learning, you are getting better. And there is going to be a moment that now I feel more confident about what I'm doing, because I had been in that situation for many, many years. And maybe the question that is new for you, I heard the same question 10 times. The first time, my answer was really bad. The last time that I heard that question, my answer was perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's what I think that all the coaches will need to understand is like, there is nothing wrong in making mistakes. There is nothing wrong when you are just failing or you feel like you are not having like the perfect answer. And look, how many times this season, Omar, we were talking with the players after the game, hey, guys, this one is on me. I made a mistake. I thought that the game was going to be going this way, and the coach from the other team make an adjustment, and I didn't react on time. It is happening, and people needs to be more comfortable just admitting that they are making mistakes.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the only way of growing.
Yeah. So you almost have to prepare yourself for not disappointment, but you have to create a buffer zone, like a gray area. There's black and white, right? Like you got it right, you didn't get it right. But in that gray area of like, you kind of expect things to go wrong so that you're not surprised by it. So your body and your mind can kind of respond in a way where you still have to be a leader of this group. You still have to be a leader of the team, and you have to kind of hold your emotions together. So, I mean, is that a skill that you've kind of, because I saw it this year, there were moments of great wins for us, and you addressed the team in a certain way. And then like towards the end of the season, we had our playoff run, and there were moments where we lost some important games, like at Hartford, for example. And there's like, you're beating into the group your message and kind of how you want them to follow your coaching. But then at the same time too, after those losses, you almost have to compartmentalize it and keep it all in, because you don't want to say something rash or get too upset. So how have you kind of been able to fine tune those moments? Because I know early in your career was kind of like you get upset and it would not be good for the players.
Yeah, I think that we had like a few moments during the season that we were talking on the bench like, oh my goodness, man, I will kill these guys when we will get to the locker room. But as soon as you are just thinking for a few minutes and you don't want to be emotional too, you just need to figure it out how to get the best from the same group in 7 days. Okay? And that's what sometimes we keep forgetting, no? Like, okay, I can kill them right now, but what I'm going to be getting for the next week. And at the end, look, we always talk about winning and the importance of winning, but even this season, as much as we wanted to win the league, there are more losers in that league than winners, because there is only one team that won, San Antonio. And in our team also, it was like kind of a really well-balanced team regarding the ages of the players. We have really young players that were a bit more mature regarding in their game. And sometimes it's also hard just to know how to approach the players when they are like, they are completely different.
Yeah.
There are kids that are coming from a completely new generation that the veterans that we had in the team. And that was something that I needed to figure it out too. But what I was always trying to do when I was approaching the team is like trying to keep them low when the team was doing well, and trying to keep a positive attitude sometimes in situations where the team was not doing well. I remember that stretch of 4 games that we didn't win. And of course, I was upset with the results, but I couldn't be upset with the performance of the players. And also, you know how many challenges we had through the season. The traveling, we were missing some flights, we were having always long trips just when we were going to the East Coast. But the most important thing for me is just the experience is providing to you an opportunity of really understanding what the group could need. And sometimes you can be wrong, but they cannot feel that you are wrong. Okay, that's the most important thing, because as soon as they identify that situation, then is when you are in trouble.
It's a weakness. They see the weakness.
And again, is nothing wrong from us as coaches just to let the group know that we are just failing. I think that is strength more than a weakness. Okay, but if the group is trusting you and you are failing the group, then it's become a weakness.
Yeah. And you say with the travel, I think the travel with this season, I mean, an understatement, but you're processing wins and losses. And now as a head coach versus being an assistant, you're processing a lot on those drives home. So what were some of those bus rides home, 4 hours after a tough loss, where you may have thought, hey, I put the game plan, everything was perfect, something went wrong, what could I have done? Were you beating yourself up for 4 hours, or what was...
No, I was just turning my back and I was looking at you sleeping. And then I figured out that I didn't need to worry that much. But no, honestly, I think that there are games that I think that after a game, all the coaches are having a hard time. Okay, I like having a hard time because you are thinking there are a lot of emotions there. And I think that we had only one game or 2 games that we won for a goal difference of more than 1 goal. Okay, all our games this season were very, very close. And I think that you are always thinking about how to improve the group. You are always thinking about these individual situations that we can try to do a bit better. And normally I have a hard time just 48 hours after the game, just thinking and trying to analyze what was happening. And again, you know that I like to be a perfectionist of my job. Yeah. And I think that having an opportunity of watching the game immediately after the game, it was giving me a lot of information, but at the same time was just driving me a bit crazy, just because I didn't want to just to be always thinking. But these 4 hours in the bus were killing me, because it was like hard for me just to stop thinking about the game, but always just trying to take the positive of the game. Okay, it's very easy just to criticize players. It's very easy just to criticize things that are not going well. But as soon as you can find something positive, maybe it's the starting point for the conversation that you are going to be having with the group on the next day that you will see them.
Yeah. One thing you did say, and I have experienced, is you being a perfectionist. So your younger days being in Saudi Arabia, and even with Barca, you being a perfectionist and how you saw things and what your standard was, maybe you had players who fell below that standard. And you're very composed now, so I don't know how you were as a younger coach, but how did you manage those imperfections of those players, but at the same time creating a positive spin on it so those kids can have a little bit more of I guess encouragement to continue forward?
Yeah, I think that I'm getting more and more grumpy, okay? That's something that you can notice sometimes, but I think that at the end, I'm taking like the game like an opportunity for the players of learning, and I'm the teacher, especially when you are working with younger players, and you just need to find that balance, no? When you are going to be pushing the players a bit, where are you going to be trying to identify what are the mistakes that they are making? For me, that's the priority number 1 as a coach. I cannot improve any player if I don't know what are the weaknesses that this player is having. For that reason, I think that the assessment is the priority number 1 for us as coaches. Okay, I remember like in that experience in Saudi Arabia, one of the strengths that I showed during that process was like having like a 4 months assessment of what was going to be the profile of the players that I was going to be coaching. Because some of the needs that these players needed to be trained were completely different than the players that I was coaching in Barcelona. And the same will happen to me when I move to South Africa, when I move here to the United States. And that was something that for me it's key. Sometimes we want to provide to the group or to show to the group how much we know instead of assessing what they really need, okay, to be developed. And look, there is certain things that you just need to develop as a team. Okay, for example, the formation, how are they going to position. But then how much time are we spending in developing players individually? How much time are we spending trying to assess what are the weaknesses of the players? And I understand that there are different environments and sometimes you don't have the opportunity, but it's very important for me just to have enough time to assess the group that you are going to be working with, because that's what is going to be allowing you to really identify what are the needs and how you just need to approach them as a coach.
Yeah.
And that was something that I had like some experiences in the past, like coaches that went to a new environment and they say, no, these are the ways that we are going to be doing things, and they are failing.
Yes, because the profiles are not.
Because the profiles are not the ones that they were expecting, because the people is not even buying the ideas that they are trying to provide. Because imagine that you have been training one way for the last 10 years, And then the great coach from Barcelona is just joining you and is telling you that we are going to be starting to do possession games and rondos because he's working with Xavi and Iniesta. The first time that you are doing it is a disaster. Second time is a disaster too. And that weekend you lose the game. The people around you are just going to be starting to tell you, hey, this guy is not good enough. But if you have an opportunity to understand what they have been doing for many, many years, and to adjust and to adapt and to help them to understand what you will like to introduce to the group, then you have a better option, a better opportunity just to succeed.
You have a plan, right? You have your methodology, you have your idea of how you want to play, but then you obviously assess the profiles that you have individually and then how those individuals fit into a collective system. So what layers of coaching? Was it more patience on the emotional side, or was it, okay, I'm realizing this player can offer us this and that fits in my system, but they can't offer me this, so I'm not going to address that part of my system? Or did you feel like I can coach them to fit my style? What was that?
Yeah, I think that at the end you just need to find probably a hybrid of both things, okay? Where you are just going to be just trying to tweak a bit the way that you would like to play, and you just need to keep improving the players to get as close as possible to the way that you would like to play. For example, when I'm talking about these 3 or 4 months that I was assessing players and assessing coaches, every single day that I was coming back home, I wanted to cry, okay? Because the way that they were coaching the players and the way that the players were developing was not even close to the way that I wanted them to be developed. But that process really helped me just to identify these mistakes and identify what were the weaknesses of these players. And if I wanted to implement my own style, it was going to be taking me a really long time. But as soon as I identified these situations, I could tweak my game model, okay? My ideas were going to be the same. So I would like to build up from the back. I would like just to progress through, I don't know, inside passes, whatever. But I will need to find a way to facilitate the job of the players when they are going to be on the field. Because if this guy doesn't know how to dribble attacking spaces right now, how is he going to be doing what I'm expecting him to do in the middle third?
Yeah.
Okay. But I think that that's a process that sometimes is taking a lot of time. And for me, as a coach, it has been helping me a lot just to have an opportunity to observe, to listen, and then from there, trying to apply the methodology that I wanted to apply. It's the best way that I can see myself behaving in these situations.
Yeah, I think that's what I like about what you just said is like listening and observing. Who were some of the people, I think, in the early days for you that you learned and observed from? And in terms of mentorship, what were some of the things that they taught you, maybe from twofold? One is like the tactical of how you want to build your methodology, but also two, from the emotional intelligence side of how do you address a team? How do you put a message in a concise form? What were some of the, I guess, advices that you got?
Look, I think that when I joined the FC Barcelona structure, I think that there I have an opportunity to work with a lot of young coaches that were starting, probably all of them very close to my age at that stage. And we were working very close to each other, okay? Like I mentioned, the first year for me was just a learning process. And I was listening to almost every coach. They were not top coaches at that stage, but right now all of them developing really, really good coaches. Some of them working for international teams. Some of them just working for the top Barcelona academy teams. And really that was like the starting point for me, like listening the guys that were working with me, very nice guys and guys that were starting like me, like having a lot of dreams about developing their careers. And then I have an opportunity just to start working with the Cruyff family. And it was a moment where I had an opportunity just to learn from Johan Cruyff a few things that he wanted to develop, because for almost when I was in South Africa, before that I tried to help them to develop a methodology based in the Cruyff ideas, and just having a chance just to have a conversation with Johan about how he was understanding the game, how he could see things, it was changing my mind, because we as coaches sometimes have the tendency of trying to complicate things, and he was completely the opposite, trying to simplify things. He probably had like 10 main points, but he knew exactly what these points could be helping the team and the players to develop. And that was for me like a game changer too. just because I saw that with less information is going to be helping the players. Wow, I had like 300 slides in my presentation, and I'm always just ending the season and I'm just going through only 25. Yeah. What I'm doing with the other 275 pages that I have. And I think that these were like the beginnings for me, and that was really helping me just to understand what could be the needs for me as a coach to continue developing.
But he simplified it in what way? I know you're talking about like you can downsize the amount of slides or the amount of things that you show somebody. But for you, what were some of the ways that you were able to, I guess, take his lessons and then start to simplify?
Yeah, the point is like, for example, using words as supports. When we are just then trying to describe every support, the diagonal support, the depth, no, just supports. Yeah. Don't forget, it's a support, no? Why you just need to overcomplicate things and to give the players like diagonal, provide a support to the player in possession of the ball. That's it. Don't give me any other explanation about how support should be, because it's a support. I don't care if it's a straight line support. I don't care if it's a diagonal support. It's a support. And I think that was really helping me just to understand, okay, as a player also, you want to hear all that information from the coach, or you just want to know the concept and then from there develop that concept the way that you think that is the best for you and the game. And that was probably for me one of the best improvements.
Yeah. You're talking about, so now we go back to kind of your career as a coach, and then you go from Saudi Arabia, which you have specific profiles and different types of people there in terms of player profiles, which are different than La Masia and Barca. Then you go to South Africa. But you were coaching more younger players in Saudi Arabia, and then South Africa was a little bit older, like 16, 17, 18.
Yes. In Saudi Arabia, I will like to say that some of the players that I coached were the ones that beat Argentina, but I don't think that I had any influence on that result.
That's where it started. They had the belief from there.
In South Africa, look, the process and the project was a completely different project. It was a project with, I will say that with a lot of investment from the owner. The owner was a really, really rich guy that wanted to develop players from South Africa. He gave us the keys of the project. He allowed us just to sign players from all over the country. We have like a residence program for 60 to 80 players. And we were developing players from the U15 to the U23 age group. I was like, more than coaching at that stage, was like the technical director from the academy. And the main objective that we had was like to identify talent and to develop that talent. We had the resources. We had like the opportunity of scouting all over the country, just having a really good chance just to pick the best players in the country. And for me, that project was the one that allowed me just to really continue with what we were developing in Barcelona, but in a completely different academy. Okay, what we were talking about, the different profiles. Players in South Africa, technically, they're amazing. They're always playing. They're always on the streets. But if you will see the way that they were training only technique, okay? And that was something that I identified from the beginning. I say, look, why we keep doing what they already can do really well? They just need to improve their IQ of the game. They just need to improve their understanding, their decision-making. Why we are not going to be just moving towards that direction? Again, it took me a few months because the coaches were used to really develop players that way, okay? And I always remember, Guardiola, when he joined Bayern Munich, that the players wanted to run more after training. No? And Guardiola was saying, why you want to run more? No? But at the end, Guardiola was allowing them to run a bit more just for them to feel comfortable. But as soon as they identified that this training that I was introducing was helping the players to keep their technical ability, but also to improve their IQ, all of them were in my side.
Your corner, yeah.
Yeah.
How difficult is that to be, I guess, responsible for providing new ideas, but sometimes those ideas can cause a little bit of friction with the people that you're working with, whether it's they're very, very stuck to, this is the way our model shows that we're supposed to do it, and that's it. We're not going to, go off track. But how have you been able to, I guess, continue to speak with confidence without there being proof just yet?
Yeah, I think, Omar, that this is coming back a bit with what we were talking at the beginning about trying to teach Steven and you this season about how to do video, how to coach the players. It was exactly the same. The problem for all of us as coaches is sometimes when we are getting out of our comfort zone, we are having a struggle, okay? And that was the situation that they were experiencing. All of them, all the coaches that I had in South Africa, for example, all of them were former players of the club. They were guys that they thought that they were the best coaches in the country. And imagine that someone from Europe is just arriving and is telling you that what you are doing is wrong. What I try to do is at the end just trying to move them from that comfort zone without them feeling it. And that's sometimes the hard part. It's they need to learn how to coach a possession game, and it's going to be the first time that they are going to be doing it. They need to coach a positional game, and they need to understand a drill that is more complicated than the ones that they were used to do. How are you just helping them to feel that they are going to be doing a good job as coaches? Yeah. And that was my job there. For that reason, sometimes they're asking me, and you were not coaching? I couldn't coach. I was coaching 10 coaches every single day, because what they needed is just to get from me as much information as possible about how these drills needs to be coached.
Yeah.
And then you are just allowing that move from the individual training that they were used to do to the team training that I was trying to introduce. It's going to be more easy for them than if I was just asking them to start doing these possession games. And then when they understood the message, they understood the coaching points, they understood how to provide the information to the players, they were on my side.
Wow. Was there like an aha, like breakthrough moment for you of like, wow, okay, I actually know how to coach people, and I actually know how to see a project from start to finish, and that was something that you were proud of? Or how were you kind of along that process?
Look, I also need to explain a really good thing. Is like the first month, the second month, and the third month of assessment, I had an opportunity to talk with the president of the club, and I went to the president, and he told me, look, I would like to fire 4 of the 5 coaches that I have. And he told me, no way, they are going to stay. Okay, they are my friends, and they are coaches that you are going to have. Then I say, I will need to figure it out now how the situation is going to be going. Because sometimes also it's easier for us when we are just getting into a new project, just to replace the people that is already there for quite a long time and just start from scratch. But not having that opportunity when I joined this club in South Africa was just forcing me just to think about ways to change their mind, no? And like I'm always talking about these projects, is like I think that I mentioned to you a few times, like I like to work in projects of 3 years. Okay, the first year is a year that normally we are not going to be getting results because we need to change too many things. The second year is the year that is going to be a transition to start to be successful. And the third year is when you just need to start to be successful. If not, is that something in that process is not going well. And just to give you an example, the first season, I know that it's not important sometimes just to win trophies with the younger teams, but these teams didn't win anything. But we started to see that the team was changing, that the way that the team was playing was getting better. Second year, we started to be successful. We won a few trophies. The following year with the U15s, U17s, and U19s, we won all the trophies that the teams were playing for in South Africa. We got invited to the Man City Cup. We got not to the Man City Cup, Manchester United Cup, the Nike Cup in Manchester, because we won in South Africa. And that was like the third year. The challenging after the third year is that you are already providing to them all the information, and you can start to see the change, and they need to be ready now for the next step. And that's the challenging one, because after 3 years is when you just need to make changes. And sometimes the organizations are not ready to make these changes.
Yeah.
But to be honest, it's a very interesting way to approach the job of the technical director or technical advisor, whatever you want to call it, because it's not only about coaching players, it's about coaching the staff that you have around you. And that's, for me, harder than when you need to coach players on the field.
No, I mean, I think players are more malleable. They understand that, okay, this coach is in this position so they can teach me. So they're open to listening and learning. I think coaches, we come in with an ego all the time because we want to not assert ourselves, but let you know that we're here for a reason. And our track record speaks for itself. But also, too, we want to be able to have a voice and we want to be able to express ourselves. And sometimes that expression needs to be filtered a little bit, and we don't know that, but someone in your experience, in your position, you need to be able to express that to them and say, look, like, just drop your ego for a second.
At the end, Omar, what is success in soccer? What is success? Just winning?
I think in the United States it is, unfortunately.
But I think that is happening all over the world. Winning at the end, but what's winning? It depends where you are. If you are just working for a small club, maybe winning is just to develop a player for a bigger team. Winning for LAFC probably is just trying to win the MLS Cup because we are a team that is having like that
support.
Yeah, but at the end, winning when you are developing players, what we want to develop, what we would like to how we would like to understand success. No, and that sometimes is a question that we need to make to ourselves, to know also what is the objective of the project that you are going to be developing, because doesn't matter at what level. What I would like coaches to do is to understand what is the project that they have in between hands and how they can be successful in that project. Okay, because I have a 9 years old, a 7 years old. I don't want them to win trophies. I want them to keep learning. When they are coming back from school and they are telling me, no, my grades are amazing, I'm happy. In soccer, I don't think that the grades are just winning a trophy or just losing a trophy. And that's interesting. And you mentioned the US, but I think that is happening all over the world. Only protecting the American fans that are going to be watching this.
It'll come out after the Holland game. So if we win the Holland game, it'll be good. But one thing you did say that I'm reflecting on as I heard it was when you have like a 3-year project, right? Or you're trying to create this environment so the coaches are learning and growing, and then that is obviously passed down to the kids. When you get to that point when you're saying that, like, hey, you've already said all you need to say, you've taught them everything you need to teach them, the players as well, how do you keep your voice fresh? I mean, I think a lot of times, myself, you sometimes think you need to reinvent yourself and try to start coaching in a different style because what you're saying, that person has heard so many times, and you're trying to get creative with how you bottle this message to this person. And sometimes you can kind of stumble along that path. So for you were there for 4 years in South Africa. So going into that 4th season, were you aware that, hey, maybe what I'm saying nowadays, people are just kind of like annoyed with it? Or were you kind of like, okay, I need to kind of continue to grow in this way?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Omar. Or just a really nice situation. Look, when I'm thinking about my 4th season in South Africa, I think that one thing that I didn't do well is just trying to continue developing the project or continue making changes in what I was introducing to the group. No, that's something that, for example, in this new project with LAFC, Las Vegas Lights, I learned from it. And I'm just really thinking and spending enough time after every season to develop and to change things, to continue growing and to continue adding like new things to the project. But you know what I'm thinking in the last weeks? This season, how many presentations we made to the group? 34 presentations, 36, 38. We played too many games.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking how I'm going to motivate the group next season. I'm still freaking out when I can see Simeone just for 11 years in Atletico Madrid. How can you maintain that intensity for 38 years? What I'm thinking is that maybe this year is going to be your turn to talk with the group. Oof, just for them, to hear a different voice. We have players that the last season were with us. I cannot use the same videos that I was using last season. I cannot use the same sentences that I was using. I can use it once. I can refresh their mind with that game that we lose, with that game that we won. But we just need to be creative. And that's something that people is just taking ideas from these all or nothing documentaries. And tomorrow you are making fun. Now you look like Arteta. No, but there are different ways just to motivate the players. And you just need to find these ways just to keep your voice at a really good point for all of them to really pay attention. And I can understand coaches that there are moments that they can feel that their voice is not listened anymore in the locker room. And one thing that, for example, I really like when we are talking about development is young players to have an opportunity to experience as many coaches as possible. Because why you are going to be keeping the same coach for 6 years? There is a moment that your message is going to get lost. You are getting like that close to the players that it's impossible for the players to respect you the way that you would like to be respected, because you spend too much time with them. They become like part of your family.
Yeah.
And that's something that at this stage, I'm just thinking how we are going to be providing to the group what they need without me being or repeating the same stuff that I was doing last season. Because you know how we were communicating with them. Straightforward, just trying to let them know what to do, how I wanted them to play. We will need to find a way. And that's part of our job, to figure it out how these 3, 4, 5 minutes that we are going to be having a conversation with the players before the game, how is that conversation going to be going?
One thing I do respect about you, like heavily, is this season, obviously we had the goalkeeping situation with Abraham and Tomas, but there was moments where maybe I like shuffled my feet a little bit or stumbled a little bit. I was like, do we really need to have that tough conversation today? Like, can't we just, wait a few more days? And you were just like, no, bring Abraham in here, bring Tomas in here, different times obviously, but bring them in. We need to have a conversation, let them know what's happening. And that clarity for the player, with whether they appreciate it right away or in a day or two or even at the end of the year, they've always come to me, and it's always been one of those where I was like, wow, I'm surprised by how thankful they are that we kept it straightforward. So for you, like, is it just like, I'm just going to tell you what it is? Is that how we've always been?
I think that you have the answer right now. And we were talking all season about no excuses, trying to set standards.
Yeah.
And if we like to play, we like to talk with the players when we have good news to them. You are playing this weekend.
Yeah.
Everybody's happy. Everybody wants to have a meeting, 10 people there. But the day that you need to talk with a player that he's not going to be the captain or he's not going to be playing that weekend, these are the important conversations. The other one, even a 3-year-old kid can do it because the player is going to be happy. And I think that right now, in the way that we are just used to communicate, always in our phones, having an opportunity just to talk with the players and to give them an opportunity to give you a response or even just to interact with you is very important. The other one is like sometimes we avoid any kind of confrontation with the players, with the other coaches, because we don't feel comfortable. And I think that that's something that we just need to think about it. I think that it's not about just having a confrontation with anyone. It's trying to discuss and to communicate. Because I think that it's easier just to spend 1 minute of your time just talking with a player or talking with a coach that is not doing the job, to trying to find a solution or trying to find what is going to be the best way just for this player to deliver. And I think that this is part of the learning process also for young coaches. Like, look, there are going to be conflicts. We just need to manage the conflicts. Sometimes you just need to be nice the way that you are going to be communicating, but you just need to communicate. I think that right now we are in a new era of not communicating that much. And look, players are human beings, coaches are human beings. And if you can explain to them why he's not going to be playing, why he's not doing a good job, he's going to be probably understanding better that if you are just sending a text, or he just can see on Saturday that he's not going to be starting the game. No, I think that it's part of my philosophy of life, like trying to communicate as much as I can, because it's the only way that I can see also the players respecting the decisions that I'm going to be taking.
That's the big one. I think you mentioned this earlier about from how you presented yourself to your coaching staff as well. There were moments where I think Steven and I were just like, I think we're going to beat Enrique to the office today. And then we get there, you're already there on your second coffee. We're like, all right, this guy's been here just like you said, 48 hours. You're thinking about the game all the time. So it's kind of woven into every waking moment that you have. So that side of things, I always felt that for us as coaches, we respected that because we said, no matter what the situation is, Enrique will always be ready to go, and that's it. And I think from watching the footage and watching the film and then obviously being around training, you have a little bit more foundation and footing when you recognize, hey, this person's not, can't be our captain. This person is not going to start this weekend. He's not going to play. And I think because you put so much effort and time into training your eye to see those certain things, you have more confidence in delivering that message. Am I right about that?
Yeah, you are right.
Okay.
And look, at the end, I hope that this season, guys, you will beat me at least once, okay? Because that could be a good sign. That will mean that you are working harder than me. But no, for me, one thing that it's important is like when you are the head coach, you have a huge responsibility in front of the staff and the team. And if you want to be a good role model, you just need to set, I don't know, the standards needs to be really high. And if I'm going to be asking you to deliver a really good job, I need to be the first one just to be there. I need to be the first one just to provide you any help in case that you will need it. And that's for me key. Like sometimes people think that all these opportunities, you are getting these opportunities for granted. And in my situation, the only way that I had like to grow as a coach, to get opportunities all over the world, it has been through work. And it's something that I will like just to educate my kids in the same way. Sometimes it's hard, okay, but the people that is going to be around me, they need to understand that work is the only way that we have to really have success. I cannot change because I saw that for me to have opportunities, I needed to work more than the other people. Being in the United States for me, working for a new club like LAFC, it was completely unexpected. But I came here for 3 months and I was working as hard as I can, and they really like what I did, and they offered me the opportunity to join LAFC. You never know when the opportunity is gonna come, and the only thing that you can control is how you are gonna be taking that opportunity and how are you gonna be approaching that chance that they are gonna be giving to you. And these chances are not coming back, and that's what is hard sometimes, Omar. That you are just thinking, I'm gonna be skipping this one. I will take the next one. No way. Maybe it's not coming back. And for that reason, my advice is sometimes look. Take every opportunity that you have like it was the last one, because you don't know if you're going to be in that spot again.
Yeah. And you take enough opportunities, you grow enough, you've proven enough to the other coaches around you, and maybe they speak to people who they're close to who are in high-level positions. And then you can kind of get a little bit more picky of what you choose, because you've set yourself up in a way that you can kind of say, hey, you know what, I'm
100%.
I'm good enough for this job. But yeah, just real quick, get back to San Francisco, South Africa. You finished South Africa and then go back to Barcelona.
Yeah.
And what was, did you feel like when you got back to Barca, they said, oh, from all these experiences and projects that we've given Enrique, he's done an amazing job. Let's get him back into our fold and our system? Or what was the...
No, what I did, look, it's interesting too, because sometimes you think that, yes, for you to be working all over the world, you're going to be having better opportunities when you will back home. And sometimes it's the opposite, okay? Sometimes for a few years, you had been out of that networking that you had before you left, and that is giving you a hard time too, because some of the opportunities that you were expecting are no longer an option for you, no? Yeah. The good thing, when I came back to Barcelona, I had an opportunity to coach again for some local clubs, okay? That's something that I always recommend. Like, even if you are not having the club, or you are not having a really good club to coach, just keep coaching, keep yourself busy, okay? Because this is something that is going to be allowing you just to continue developing, okay? Because there are going to be different challenges than the one that you are used to. But I will continue working for the Cruyff family in some international projects. And that was giving me the chance to continue with my analysis of players all over the world. No, I went to Canada, I came to the United States, and that was really the way that I was spending these 2 years that I was in Barcelona before making the move to LAFC.
Wow. And the Cruyff family, are you still close with everybody there? Or?
Yeah, look. And they had been very important for me, because as much as I say at the beginning that FC Barcelona was the club that allowed me to really learn and to develop as a coach, I think that they were also very important in my development as a coach, because they gave me the chance to move from the FC Barcelona environment to different environments, to really open my eyes about what I needed to do to continue developing as a coach, as a coordinator, as a technical director, because it was hard when I left Barcelona. I thought for a minute that I was never going to be having a good opportunity to continue coaching and developing, because I was in one of the best teams in the world. Looking back right now, I can see that it was the best decision of my life, because again, I was in a comfort zone, really good players, really good environment, having like a really nice curriculum that the coaches were providing, or the directors were providing to me. And then I needed to move to the other side. No curriculum, trying to develop things, coaches that were not ready to coach the way that I was expecting them to coach. And that was really open my eyes and say, hey, still there is some life out of Barcelona. Yeah. That move, it's the move that probably helped me just to achieve some of the things that I'm achieving in the last years.
That's the wisdom, though, I think. Experiencing all those things in the moment, you have no idea, because there's not someone holding your hand and saying, Enrique, trust me, in 10 years you're going to be with LAFC. This is going to be an amazing opportunity for you to continue to grow. Just keep your head down and work. There's going to be an opportunity for you there. Like you're saying, you almost have to kind of be okay with not severing the ties, but ending that relationship, only to figure out for yourself that this is the best thing for you.
And then, Omar, you just need to be ready to sacrifice things. And are you ready?
I like Los Angeles.
but that's the challenge. You will have enough opportunities in LA, but there are going to be limited options, okay? And that's something that it's not bad, but I knew that I needed to sacrifice a lot of things because people is telling me, oh, it's amazing, man. You have South Africa, Saudi Arabia. If you will check now how many time I spend far from my family, friends, my kids, my wife, it is time that is not coming back. But I needed to sacrifice certain things just to keep developing or to experience things. When I moved to the United States for a year, I was by myself because I didn't know if it was going to be working. And then my family was joining me. But these are small things that when you are a coach or when you just decide that this is going to be your job and your career, you just need to think about it. You want to be a coach in the United States? It's fine. It's cool. It's nice. But you just need to sacrifice a lot of things too.
Yeah, that's the hardest.
I can see that you are a bit soft.
I love my family. I love being in LA. This is where I'm from. But
But remember that I'm going to leave one day, man.
I know.
And I know that you love me too.
So I'll go where, if you take me somewhere, I'll be there. No, but that's the $1 million question, I think, and something that you have to be okay with is, are you willing to sacrifice as a coach? Because I'm looking at all the coaches that we are around in the office, and I'm noticing like how much they had to sacrifice even to just get a license. Like you have to be away from your family for 2-3 weeks, go, a different part of the world, do all the interviews and, be on the field, curriculum, and then you come back and then you're realizing, oh, wow, okay, I've progressed from that. What's the next step? So there's always something to chase. So you kind of, for any young coach out there, any people who are listening, that is, I guess, the advice. And like you're saying, you kind of have to, your why has to be strong enough for you to kind of bear with all those experiences and kind of the gray area in between.
Yeah, I think that you just need to find your own motivation. And that's what I'm lucky at this stage because I'm finding my motivation with the different challenges that the club provide to me in the last years. Because like I mentioned, I normally a person that after 3 years, I'm starting to think about the different projects. But here, for example, in LAFC, I had the chance just to develop the academy. Then I had the opportunity to be the assistant coach of Steve in the Lights. Now I'm having the opportunity to be the head coach of the Lights for a season. That is what is keeping me like motivated just to keep going and to keep experiencing what is going to be my next step here, no, in LAFC. But again, we keep using this word of about sacrifice, and it's hard. We know that this job can be the best one. Remember when we won a few games this season, we were over the moon, but can be the worst one because as much as we know that it's not always an option for us to win, we are just looking for it. We are just competing. And like you say, coaches trying to get better. We are competing against each other. Coaches trying to spend as many hours as possible, just trying to compete against the other coaches on Saturday. It's always a process about competing, and I think that for all of us, when we are just involved in this world, it's just because we love to compete. Yeah, we love to compete, and if we can compete and win, man, that's amazing.
Yeah, no, you're right, and that was the difficult part, I think, for Steven and I this season, is that we believed in what you were proposing to the team in terms of the standard you wanted to keep, which we loved. I've told people all the time, like the way I was raised is very similar to the way you kind of run the operation of, guys, trust me, just let me steer the wheel. I know what I'm doing. Let's get you guys to where you need to get to. It's going to be a little bit rough at times. I'm going to send you some messages and like have tough conversations, but trust me, everything I'm doing is to better you. And that's how my dad raised me, which I didn't appreciate until I got to this age now where I'm realizing, oh boy, that needs to be a staple as a coach. And then I think from the just being on the field and so, like even in the office, seeing how much work you personally put in, and like you weren't sleeping after games, you were putting the scouting reports like weeks in advance, and like, guys, I need you guys to take a look at this game. We don't play this opponent for 2 more weeks, 3 more weeks, but I want you guys to give me an idea of what they look like. So I could see the steps that you were taking to win. And then I think we lost our first game to New Mexico 2-0 on the road. And I think Steven and I, we were in our hotel room talking. We were just like, man, we really thought that we were going to win the entire thing because of the way you presented things to the group. And it was, like you're saying, you're just competing and you're always striving to get better. But one thing you did teach me as a coach is never present something to the team that you will never do for a second, a third, or a fourth time. If you're going to be strict to somebody for them or discipline them for not being on time, or like we had situations this year where guys didn't show up on time, you need to be consistent. I need to tell this player, you are not starting, you are not playing. If I don't, that opportunity has passed. And now the team saw me blink. They just saw me show a sign of weakness because that player may have been our best guy. So that's something that I credit you so much for, of like, you guys. Don't mess around. You will find out.
No gray areas.
No gray areas.
No gray areas. I think that at the end it's very important. And look, we, as much as it's hard, we really enjoy discipline at the end. I think that even when you are in a team where you have 18, 24 players, they enjoy that discipline too. Yeah. Because I think that you can be flexible sometimes, but it's important just to set some standards and rules that are going to be helping all of them to have an opportunity to succeed on and off the field. I was telling the players, the reason why I want you on time, guys, is just to show respect to the other players. The way that I want all the staff to be together when we are going to be having a meeting with the players is for them to see that we are just on time for them. Yeah. Okay? At the end, if I'm the one that is going to be leading a project and I'm going to be the last one, what is the respect that the players are going to be showing towards my job? Yeah. Nothing. Zero. For that reason, the way that you are going to be presenting yourself, it's going to be key. And always my advice is like, if you cannot do certain things during the season or during the whole season, don't do it. If you are going to be asking the players and the coaches just to do certain assessments, certain things, and you are promising to the players to do it every week, do it. Because if you are not doing it, then you are going to be in a really bad situation for the rest of the season. Remember this year, we say, hey, are we going with individual videos? Yes, let's go with individual videos. But we need to promise the players that it's going to be every 2 weeks. They should have their individual videos every 2 weeks. It's a lot of work, yes. But it's a commitment that we are making with the group. Yeah. And if we are not doing it, we are the ones that are going to be looking bad in front of the group.
For sure. Don't promise what you can't deliver.
100%, not 100%. But again, it's a lesson. And I think that this year you were just providing to the goalkeepers every week their own individual video. You set the standard at the beginning of the season. What do you think that the goalkeepers will be thinking if 1 week you are not providing to them the video? Yeah. Omar is not ready. Omar is not even thinking. Omar doesn't want to work. He's lazy. But no, you didn't give them any opportunity to think about it. Okay? I'm the one thinking about all that stuff.
It's tough too. I think that was what you're saying too, is there's also those moments where I've gotten really, I think I used video as a crutch a lot and used those conversations a lot. So sometimes I felt like, you know what? Maybe this week I kind of, because we had some games where it was like a Saturday, Wednesday game. And in between those, we had, let's say, 2 days off. There was those moments where I was like, okay, I feel like I've been in Abraham's ear a lot, or in Tomas's ear a lot. Let me just take my foot off the gas for a little bit, but don't let this become a trend.
And that's a strategy. It's not that you don't want to do it. It's just you have your own strategy about how you would like to manage the information that you have from the goalkeeper. Yeah. And look, at the end, what I saw, and you keep repeating that, maybe I was the leader of the group, but it's very important for everybody to know that without the help of Omar, Steven, the other staff that we had there in the lights, I didn't have any opportunity to succeed. And the other thing that it's important is that you guys bought my idea about how I was going to be coaching the group, how I was going to be approaching the group. Because as soon as one of you guys is not in the same page than I was, the group is going to feel it too.
Mm. But you did empower us, though. There was times where Steven had to deliver a tough message to somebody. I had to deliver a tough message to somebody, and you would be in our corner. Like, okay, look, right or wrong, we will discuss this afterwards, but I'm going to support you in front of the group because that is the right thing to do as a coach and as a mentor. So again, those were the moments for us where we had a little bit of breathing room to express ourselves and try new things. And then you can kind of come back to us and say, hey, like...
Because that's important for coaches to know also. When you're working with a staff, I want each member of my staff to be independent in certain situations. Because if you are having an argument with a player, I'm probably not going to be paying attention to that specific situation. We are going to be discussing it internally when that situation is happening. But at that point, at that moment, even if you are wrong, I need to support what you are just going to be just communicating with the player. And I'm always recommended to use the F-bomb just to reinforce the message. Okay,
yes, sir.
Yes, just do it. Even if you are wrong, just do it. That's going to be the end of the conversation.
Okay, Enrique, we're running a little bit long here, but last question. And I thought about this one. I was like, okay, let's see if this works. Is there a question that I did not ask you throughout this episode that you wanted me to ask? And how would you have answered it?
I think that one question that is important is like, that's a good question, by the way. But I think that you already mentioned yourself a few times, how you were performing during the year. Okay, for that reason, I think that I provide to them enough information about how good or how bad you were. But I will say that probably the only question is about the project that I had an opportunity to develop here in LAFC. And the way that I was going to be answering the question is like, probably LAFC has been the best project that I had an opportunity to work for, because it's the only club that started from scratch. Okay, if you will think about all the teams that I have been working in the past, all of them, they have a lot of history, a lot of barriers, a lot of challenges, that I just needed to break. Here in LAFC was the opposite. I came with my own methodology, my own ideas, and it was easier for me just to introduce all of them to the coaches, to the players, because we were starting from scratch. And that was probably one of the best things that I did in my career as a coach, just joining an MLS team that was going to be starting, to have an influence from the first minute and from the first day that I was just stepping in the club. No, and that was for me like a really good opportunity that, if I'm honest, I never expected, because when you are thinking about the game in Europe, all the clubs, they have like too many years of history. And I never thought about an opportunity to start a club from the beginning. When I joined the club, we didn't have a first team. When I joined the club, we didn't have a head coach for the first team. I signed for the club before Carlos Vela. I think that's an interesting discussion. But that is what is making that I feel the club like it's a part of mine. Okay, because it's very important for me what is going on in the club, how the players are developing, how important for me is like to sign players from the academy, because I have been with them since the beginning, no? And that's probably one of the things that make me more proud, just to be involved in a project that was starting not with me, obviously not with me, but with me as a part of that project. That was probably one of the questions that I asked you to ask me before it started, and you completely forgot about it.
You took me on so many different paths, so I completely forgot. But no, I think that's very important. Sometimes you can kind of look at where you are and not reflect enough on the experiences that have gotten you to where you are, and how you are addressing and how you are presenting yourself, and how those experiences and the journey, the pathway, have created this, I guess, image that you're portraying to other people. So it seems like all the experiences from a little time in Egypt or Barcelona, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, and then the Cruyff situation with them, then you get to LAFC. So all these things have allowed you to step into this role. And I think LAFC Academy is probably one of the best in the country, right? I think. So it's safe to say that all those things didn't go to waste. You were very present and very intentional along the pathway of learning the skills that you needed. Because again, like you said earlier, your why, your intention has to be strong enough for you to be able to sacrifice. And then from there, being able to drop your ego, receive the feedback, and then grow and grow and grow. So it's a testament to, I think, all the things that you've done. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no. I couldn't say better than you.
I'm just hoping that what I just said, right, that little monologue gets me one seat closer to you on the bench. So, Steven, I'm sorry.
You are going to be moved one chair to the right.
So further away.
Further away,
okay.
Yes.
Let me end this before I say anything any worse. But, Enrique, thank you so much, and excited for the MLS Next Pro next season with LAFC, and to see where you take the group and take us.
Thank you, Omar. Like always, it's a pleasure just to spend some time with you, man.
Now go enjoy your off season, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.